Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend and parliamentary secretary. Certainly, totally agree this legislation needs to be passed, but in the context of the debate today, I've heard something of a fairy tale about a wonderful agency that works well and regulates to protect workers and protects the environment. The fairy tale says that that's the Canada-Newfoundland Labrador Offshore Petroleum Board. Unfortunately, we know from the Wells report that they should have been much more vigilant, and 17 people died in the Cougar crash. But I want to focus also on the negligence of the agency in protecting the environment. As I said earlier, they have a built-in conflict of interest that their job is to promote offshore oil and gas. And many scientists, and I'm sure the honourable member knows of Professor Ian Jones at Memorial University, a number of scientists within the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, who have lamented that the Canada-Newfoundland Labrador Offshore Petroleum Board seems to have a fictitious approach to protection for marine mammals from seismic testing. Seismic testing that causes noise levels of as much as 260 decibels, 24/7 in the offshore. And I wonder if the honourable member wouldn't agree that it would be better to have separate agencies protect workers and protect the environment.
Honourable Parliament Secretary to the Minister of Northern Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And of course, I want to thank my colleague from Saanich Cove Islands for her question and always for her insightful comments into debate. Obviously, in the oil and gas industry in Newfoundland and Labrador, when we look at the C-NLOPB, we look at it as something that was built in Newfoundland and Labrador. Very seldom in our history have we had autonomy or control over any resource development sector within our backyard. The C-NLOPB was the world-class regime that was created to do that. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. And can it be improved? We all recognize it can be improved, even going back to the recommendations of the regulatory review that was done. We're looking to try and make those transitions and to look at those improvements. When it comes to the protection, environmental protections, we did complete overhauls with regard to environmental regulations and legislation as it relates to Canada's resource development sector. And that is governed by legislation. And that process, while many may feel that it is too lenient, there are others that feel it isn't lenient enough. So there's always a crossover in terms of whether there's a happy medium here or not. I think the only thing that really makes concrete sense is ensuring that we have environmental regulations that is very well thought out, that looks to the protection of the marine environment and the natural environment itself, and ensures that there is cohesion between resource development and the environment. Anytime when those targets are not being met, I think there's always room for a reevaluation and for further discussion. We need to ensure that parties are always open to that, and that it's not and that these things are not done to the detriment of other interest.